Behavioural disorders present difficult problems for clients and care workers alike. While physical violence and aggression are acts of challenging behaviour, focusing on them alone would ignore challenging behaviour in its wider context. Feeling threatened, verbally or visually, is being exposed to challenging behaviour. If you are being bullied or intimidated, someone's behaviour towards you is challenging. Although challenging behaviour occurs in care settings, it does not go with the territory. It's not something you just have to get used to. Our responses to challenging behaviour vary, two of the most common being fear and anger. Fear alerts us to something that's not right and could be displayed in several ways. Becoming frozen to the spot, being stuck for words, dry mouth, feeling sick, hairs stand up on your neck, wobbly knees. You become angry and go on the attack. Your heart beats faster. Whilst becoming angry is quite natural, it can quickly make a bad situation far worse. Anger could be displayed in several ways. Pointing, raising your voice, shouting, slamming doors, swearing, threatening someone, throwing things. Your voice gets higher. When we feel threatened, adrenaline is released into the bloodstream. This creates a state of arousal, which prepares our body to cope with exercise. Often, as your adrenaline is flowing, so too is that of the person challenging you, a recipe potentially for disaster. Challenging behaviour does not necessarily involve physical injury. It encompasses all and any behaviour that is challenging. The threat itself, the behaviour itself, verbal abuse. Whilst a physical attack is easy to identify, there are many less obvious effects, such as reduced job satisfaction, low morale, absence, staff cover is impaired, stress levels increase to breaking point, and thus staff turnover increases. All of this results in poor care standards. With physical harm, most times you have the bruise to show for it. But what if there are no bruises? Does this mean you've not been harmed? How you feel is not so obvious, yet just as real and just as damaging. Don't ignore those feelings. They need to be addressed. Talk to your manager. In many situations, challenging behaviour rarely just happens. It builds up. Risk assessment aims to prevent the problems arising or building up. No one person knows everything about a client. Therefore, those assessments should be a team effort involving you all. When assessing challenging behaviour, consider the client's history. What has actually happened in the past? What has nearly happened in the past? What might trigger an incident? What are the flashpoints? Who are the potential assailants? The most frequent methods of preventing an incident include changing what staff do, their working practices, changing staff levels, changing both the staff and client circumstances, changing the physical environment itself, improving staff skills, sharing information better, reducing those things that trigger incidents, raising the alarm. How could you improve that? Information, information, information. Information is absolutely essential if you're going to manage challenging behaviour effectively. Risk assessments regularly show the consistent need to report the warning signs, record the warning signs, pass them on at shift handover. Staff absence in more challenging environments is higher than in less challenging environments. The grinding down effect we mentioned earlier is a major cause of stress resulting in absence. The knock-on effect increases stress for others and reduces time available for clients. Subsequently, the clients can become more agitated more easily and challenge more readily more often. The whole situation can become a seemingly unstoppable downward spiral. By identifying the problems and managing them, you can do something about them which benefits everyone. Inevitably, you will work with someone whose circumstances are such that their behaviour may be considered as challenging. Knowing about the person, information is essential. For example, what are their flashpoints? What triggers them? What are the warning signs? This makes it easier to reduce the likelihood of their behaviour becoming challenging. Furthermore, it makes de-escalating the situation more likely. Generally, problems do not appear from out of nowhere. We all have good days and bad days, and our mood can change at any given time. We all have different limits and react to circumstances around us differently. In any situation where a client has a different expectation to yours, there's the possibility of triggering a problem. How you handle a situation could either settle it down or might fuel it and make it worse. Flashpoints. 4 flashpoints to remember are people, places, tasks, times. People. What is it about the person or their circumstances that could cause their behaviour to become challenging? Places. Where are there physical locations that could make challenging behaviour more likely and harder to manage? Tasks. What might you do or not do that could cause someone's behaviour to challenge? Times. What times of the day are more likely to see behaviour become more challenging? Triggers. Without knowledge about the client, their history, how they react to situations, makes it virtually impossible to manage their behaviour. That knowledge involves investigating what triggers their behaviour for it to become challenging. After all, there's nearly always something that causes or triggers that behaviour. We're all different, therefore triggers vary enormously and could include a different carer, bad news, boredom, poor communication skills, change of routine, communal living, different medication, feeling ignored, illness, inappropriate care practices, pain, pushing, testing the boundaries, rough caring. Many situations are triggered because of us, your response or lack of response to the client's needs. Imagine yourself in these situations. When will they get me up? They're always too busy. The food comes when it suits them, not when I'm hungry. They, other clients, really irritate me. Why do I have to make a fuss to get noticed? The more I shout, the more they do. It shuts me up. They only take me seriously when they see I'm wound up. When will they answer the damned bell? Nurse! I'm sick of being told, wait, wait, wait. That's it, patronise me, treat me like a stupid old fool. Go on, talk about me where I can hear you. Tell me you'll do it now and leave me for half an hour. As if that weren't enough, there are countless other ways you can be the trigger for challenging behaviour. Being superior, belittling someone, pulling rank, saying no, saying you're wrong. Remember, whether you think you've triggered the situation or not is irrelevant. If the client feels you have, then you have. Therefore, you have to view your behaviour from their perspective. Predictability. Triggers are not always predictable, particularly where drugs, alcohol, or certain mental illnesses are involved. Missed medication, refused medication, changes to medication, confusion, etc. all add to the unpredictability of people's behaviour. If you feel something is not right, keep a safe distance. Don't eyeball the person. Be wary of touching them. It might be misunderstood. Slow, deep breaths in, out. Where's the exit? Stay nearer to the exit than the other person. Keep the route to the exit clear. Who else is about? If you feel safer leaving the area, leave. Report it to the most senior person on duty immediately. Warning signs. These can be verbal, non-verbal, or both. Verbal warning signs could be a spoken threat, verbal abuse, or consistent repetition. If you are genuinely threatened verbally, take it seriously. Report it immediately. Make sure the situation is noted in the care plan and that others are made aware so that appropriate action can be taken. A client consistently repeating the same thing over and over again can become agitated or wound up. Their adrenaline builds up. If you ignore the warning signs and fail to take appropriate action, the likelihood is you'll have a major problem on your hands. Foul, racist, sexual, offensive language can get adrenaline flowing, particularly when it's intended to goad. Don't just ignore it, well, that's John for you. Treat it for what it is, a possible warning sign that something might be about to escalate. Non-verbal warning signs regularly include banging something, body language, changed appearance, eyeballing, frustration, invading personal space, posturing, pushing, pulling, shoving, etc., repetitive movements, threatening behaviour, unusual behaviour, written threats. There are many types of violence and aggression which could threaten physically, including abuse, assault, biting, hitting, kicking, menacing behaviour, non-verbal threats, rape, taunts, throwing things, using a weapon, verbal threats. When a situation kicks off, what goes through your mind? It's triggered. It's happened. You have a problem now, right now. What goes through your mind? How would you like to see things develop? For it to just go away? For me not to get hurt? For me to assert myself? For no one else to get sucked in or involved? For the client to do as they're told? For someone else to come and sort it out quickly? For the situation just to fizzle out and settle down? And the gloves are off. If you want to aggravate the situation as it escalates, here are some great tips. Invade my personal space. Eyeball me. Touch me, wag your finger at me. On the other hand, if you want to diffuse the situation, stay out of my personal space. Don't eyeball me. Don't touch me. Don't wag your finger at me. It really is worth recapping this. The 3 first steps to diffusing this type of situation are: 1. Move away from me at a slight angle. 2. Drop your gaze and look at the side of my face. 3. Don't touch me. Don't wag your finger at me. Think of a problem escalating as a traffic light moving from green to red. Green, the client is happy, seemingly quite content. Amber, their behaviour is triggered and starts to become challenging. Red, now you've got a problem. You're in the danger zone. What you have to do is to reverse the sequence, diffuse the situation. Red, you're in the danger zone. Amber, it could go either way. You're not out of the woods yet. Green, things have settled back down. As you diffuse the situation, you're in the amber zone. You have to be very careful not to refuel it again. Do not eyeball them, touch them, fold your arms, patronise them, argue, be seen as authoritative, interrupt, leave them to calm down with other clients. It might set them off too. Do not look to have the last word. Make promises. Turn your back. Say, I know how you feel. You probably don't, and they know it. On the other hand, shut up and listen. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them in that proportion. Consciously breathe in and out slowly and deeply. Move slowly and gently. Use straightforward, plain language. Say, and I can see that. Keep your distance. Aim to divert their attention. Diffusing the situation is about managing the behaviour and staying safe. It includes self-control, body language, sitting down, what you say or don't say, shifting the emphasis. Since no one strategy works every time with every client, you have to adapt. Consciously take long, slow, deep breaths in and out to help your self-control. If it does not increase the risk and you feel safe, invite the client to sit down. Sit down with them, keeping a safe distance, slightly to one side and at the same height. What you do or do not say is extremely important. Your objective is to diffuse the situation, not escalate it. Do. Use their name, the one they prefer to be called. Show empathy. Tell them you are concerned. After all, you probably are. It is very important to come alongside them, which is done by acknowledge sensitively that you know they're wound up. Ask them why. Listen. Say, come on, and use their name. Let's talk it through and sort it out. There are several ways to shift the emphasis. For example, can you get them to think or talk about something else? Can someone else talk to them, as well as or instead of you? Will they go somewhere else safely to talk it through? Meanwhile, avoid phrases such as, don't be stupid, don't be silly, I understand, stay calm, calm down. Now look, with respect, it could be worse. These will only fuel the situation and escalate it. Instead, to de-escalate the situation, learn and use phrases such as, come on, let's talk it through and sort it out. What's caused you to shout, hit, throw? I can see that. Your body language is a balancing act because the right messages help, but the wrong messages hinder. Too far one way says, I'm a victim, have a go at me. Too far the other way says, come on then if you think you're big enough. Body language don'ts. Don't touch them. Don't point or wag fingers at them. Don't fold your arms. Don't smile, they might think you're grinning. Good body language tips include: stand no less than 2 meters away from them. Keep your feet 1 hip's width apart. Stand at a slight angle to them. Keep your hands down and open to them. Consciously breathe in and out, slowly and deeply, and nod your head occasionally. Breakaway techniques, as their name suggests, are methods of breaking away from someone if they get hold of you. The need for them would indicate a significant risk of very challenging behaviour. Such techniques must only be learned under the supervision of a properly trained instructor. In some situations, self-defence is perfectly acceptable. However, what you might consider defence could be considered assault by someone else. The best form of self-defence is to get away. Ah, you say, but I'm entitled to use reasonable force. The law does not specify what is or isn't reasonable. Reasonable is a grey area legally. Income for solicitors. What you consider reasonable, someone else might not. Only a court can decide, and that may not be in your favour, be warned. Walking away is better than being stretchered off or sued. Restraining someone is both a serious and a controversial matter. Many unacceptable restraints still occur. You must be familiar with your policy regarding restraint. All care providers have such policies. Care plans must describe the method of restraint, how and by whom it is authorised, if at all. Furthermore, you would have to demonstrate that it was in everybody's best interests to restrain someone. Circumstances that might warrant restraint could include situations where physical or physiological harm to oneself or others might arise. Distress to others is serious. Property damage is probable. Sexual exploitation may occur. Abuse would result if you didn't act. Where you have to consider the realistic likelihood of applying restraint, relevant staff must be given instruction on what might constitute a restraining incident, preventative measures, warning signs, how to diffuse such situations, implementation of safe restraint itself. Only staff trained in restraint practices may restrain. If that's not you, then you don't restrain, ever. Careful records of restraints must be kept. And remember, restraint is never a method of general control. That would constitute abuse. Therefore, the following are unacceptable practices: securing people, restricting their freedom, containing or locking people in or out, drugging people, sometimes nothing is going to diffuse the situation. The client is going to blow, you have to leave. Acknowledge they're wound up. Can you distract the person safely? Can you move other people away safely? You back away slowly. As soon as you're clear, move away quickly. Get help immediately. If you can't get away, consciously breathe in and out, slowly and deeply. Keep telling yourself it will be fine. Listen. Use your ears and mind, not your mouth. Think about everything you say or don't say. Discreetly look for, consider and plan escape routes. Make slow, gentle and unthreatening movements. Whilst supporting the client, what about colleagues involved in the incident? Implement your first aid procedures. Implement your accident and incident procedures. Reassure other colleagues. As the circumstances dictate, take them home or to hospital. Sort out their personal needs, cover their duties. A formal review will be necessary. The most senior person on duty determines police involvement. How will clothing be replaced and who will pay for it? How will glasses be replaced and who will pay for them? If your car is damaged, how will it be put right? How will your income be secure while recuperating? Legal assistance and maybe counselling might be required. Immediately after an incident, the following information needs to be recorded: the name of the client involved, name of care staff involved, name of any staff witness, description of the incident, the cause of the incident, was any action taken to control the client, when was the manager notified, was restraint applied, what care plan procedures were applied, what injuries were caused, who recorded this in the accident book, who was contacted, relatives, friends, social workers, doctors, police, inspectors. Working alone creates unique risks and difficulties when dealing with challenging behaviour. As a lone worker, your health and safety training should have addressed these issues. If not, then action needs to be taken to put that right. There's a programme accompanying this one to help you.
You will now be given a test sheet. Don't worry about it, it's not to catch you out. Instead, it is to show that you know more than you may even have realised. Each question has one proper answer. Put a ring around either A, B, C or D to show which answer you are selecting. When the test sheet is complete, fill in the details at the end so that it can be sent back to Mulberry House for marking and, all being well, the issuing of a training certificate.